Okay, we'll start. See if anybody will be joining soon, but we'll start now. The Sif Yud, Reish Pei Vav Sif Yud. We're going to try to get just to cover some main points in. Or I just want to make sure you're hearing me. Hell, can you just confirm if you're hearing me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. So we're going to start in Hashem Sif Yud, and we'll try to just cover some main points in this simon to the end of the simon, and then hopefully have one or two other shurim to just cover some main points of the final simanim. So in Sif Yud, Beis Medrash Pater mi mezuzah. Im yesh bo Pesach sheraga letzos bo v'lebeso chayav mezuzah. The psak of the Shulchan Aruch is like the Rambam that a Beis Medrash is pater from mezuzah. Yesh amim shebeis Medrash chayav mezuzah v'nochon loch shtevreim avlo yivarach aleh. So we had the rush from the Rambam Rutenberg that he sat in the Beis Medrash and he was overtaken by some kind of ruach ra, and he would sleep there when he would fall asleep there. So the Rambam Rutenberg realized he needed to put a mezuzah. When he put it up, it stopped. And the rush, based on that, said that it's could I be machmer to have a mezuzah in the Beis Medrash, even though Chor Maker doesn't need. And that's the Shulchan Aruch as being machmer. He did not mention this back in Sif Gimel or Basic Knesses, because so the post can point out the Taz and the Shach that because the Beis Medrash is different because it is a place that the people are sitting and learning on them the entire day. So it's dumya to a Beis Dira to a makom kavua. Even though we'll see when we get to offices later on, to chanuos and offices, they seem to have a discrepancy in this. But here the guy Beis Medrash, that's what they're saying. There would seem to be a chiyuv because it's dumya to a Beis Dira kavua because you're yoshim v'lomdim sham kol hayom. And I think just under the circumstances, it's a good point here just to point out this nakuda that right now we don't have the Batei Medrash. Right now we don't have the Batei Knesios, and we're sitting and learning in our homes. We're learning online and doing what best we can, but we don't have our Batei Medrash. We don't have our Batei Knesios, which is a big pacha because it's always been throughout our history that when, like the Gemara says in Megillah, that when the Kol Yaakov Beis Medrash and Beis Knesses, so then Ein Yadayim Yidei Esov. And right now we've been taken, the Kol Yaakov in the Beis Medrash has been taken away from us. We don't have, like the Shach and Taz say here, we don't have people sitting and learning the Beis Medrash Kol Hayom. We don't have a Beis Medrash that's dumya to a Beis Dira right now. So that's why we need to do our best. We have to to be mechazik ourselves, to be together as much as we can as a tzibor, that there should be a Kol Yaakov in Klal Yisrael even during times like this. Because that's the Maisa. That's what it is. That if the Gedolim, many Gedolim have told us that the message during times like this is that we did not fully appreciate having a Beis Medrash. We didn't fully appreciate having a Beis Knesses, or even if those who went to it maybe didn't necessarily appreciate enough going into it. We didn't say enough. Ani barov chastacha avu beisecha, that to recognize the chesed that there is, that we're able to walk into a Beis Knesses and Beis Medrash. I think we'll feel that a lot more. We'll be able to say that with a lot more kavana when the time comes, because Hashem will return. But right now we have to be chazik to recognize the chashivas and the chesed that there is, the opportunity, and it's not taken for granted the fact that we can walk into a shul or into a Beis Medrash. People in Russia, people in previous times were not able to walk into these places, and we're feeling a little tinge of that right now, a little taste, a little droplet of that. To hopefully have more appreciation for that. And I think just maybe if this time we're talking about this already, just to mention also that what we mentioned back in Reish Pei Hey in the beginning, that the numerous halachas that we find throughout Hilchos Mezuzah that are unique to Mezuzah, that we have Hilchos Shmira, and the Dinei Shmira actually are making common nafkaminas legabe the din of mezuzah. It's not just a side thing, but Shmira actually enters into the halacha, which is unique. We don't find this any other halacha. So we offer the possible explanation that what's manishtana mezuzah mikol ha-mitzvahs, that it should be an Indian of Shmira here more than any place else. So, because the beginning of Reish Hey, we said that mitzvah say lichtov shma v'ayim shemoya l'kavam al mezuzah pesach v'tzorach lizar ba ma'od l'zar ba yarichu yamav yibanav im enuzar ba yitzarena, because it's katzru, because the reason that there's Isar ba ma'od is because yesh ba yichud Hashem, the Rambam says. And the Rambam says in the Hilchos Mezuzah that every time you walk in the door, you're zocher b'yichud Hashem, and that I really feel that this is an important message for the time that we're in right now. That this the zichron yichud Hashem, the Nefesh HaChaim speaks at Arichos about that the remembrance of Eno Milvado, a person becomes davuk to the Shechina in the way that Eno Milvado, you live with the constant recognition that there's no other force in the world but a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and you really are davuk to that, and you live with that. So then he says that no harm can befall you. And he brings the Gemara that says that Eno Milvado afilu kshafim. And he brings a Maisa there. We mentioned that I think it was Rabbi Mendoza was standing, and a woman, a sorceress, came and she started digging a circle around him, which put a hex on him, and nothing happened. And she said, "This never happened before. What happened?" So he laughed and said, "Eno Milvado ksiv." He was double to Eno Milvado. Even the kshafim couldn't touch him. Even these supernatural forces that are beyond normal human dangers, even those couldn't touch him when he was double to Eno Milvado. And we mentioned the Maisa, the David Salveshek, he tells over from his father, Briskerov, that when he was running with the Briskerovs escaping the Nazis in Machshamam, they had to get to a certain border to cross over sneak over a certain dangerous border. So they're sneaking over it, and then they were caught by a Nazi on the other side who started screaming at them and then slapped the Briskerov in the face. And then a moment later, another Nazi came from behind and screamed at them and pushed them over the border, and they ran to safety. So David was perplexed. What happened? He said, Tati, Basaka Shane. What happened? So the Briskerov said to him that when I got slapped in the face, it woke me up to realize I wasn't thinking deeply enough in Eno Milvado. So I was Dovik my machshava back to Eno Milvado. There's no other force in the world, but these Nazis are nothing, and no other force in the world but Hashem. When I got Dovik to that machshava, so then we got pushed over the border. So, and that's a very big yisod from the Nefesh HaChaim that the base brisk, they live by this very much. This concept of Eno Milvado. I think that's really the yisod of mezuzah. That's why mezuzah provides such a shmira of our abatim, because every time you walk in, you remember the yichud Hashem. You remember every time you walk through the door, Eno Milvado. Then you walk in. So that really is what provides the ikar shmira to the house. It's much like that from Lashon Rambam. It's not just the hefts of the mezuzah that's doing it; it's the outcome of that a person is living with the hakara of Eno Milvado. It's a home filled with the hakara of Yichud Hashem, and that's what's that really provides the shmira. Like the Unkla said, that Kadosh Baruch Hu shomerim b'b'chutz. If we were makabel Hashem, we're makabel the Yichud Hashem, then Hashem's shomer his. A regular king is guarded by the people on the outside, but our king guards us from the outside, and we're makabel Yichud Hashem. So I think that during this time that we're living in right now, the yisod of mezuzah is really the ikar yisod we have to be thinking about. That we have the recognition that a tiny little microbe that's invisible to the naked eye can wreak havoc to the entire world. It's all the Yad Hashem. It's something that's invisible to the naked eye, and still it didn't take an Armageddon, didn't take a nuclear bomb or whatever to turn the world upside down. It took an invisible microbe that has completely turned the world up on end. So this is simply the Yad Hashem showing us that who's really in charge. We think that we can control. We think that we have all our technology and everything, and that we're in control of the world. This shows us, no, there ain't no Milvado. There is no other control but Kadosh Baruch Hu. He brought it on. He can bring it off. And if we would be double to that machshava, I think that would be a tremendous shmira for all of us. And it's really what Hashem is waiting for us to be makir, to bring us out of this, to come back to. If we really recognize Eno Milvado, we would appreciate other Jews more. We would appreciate, which we don't. We seek Lashon Hora, so we go into isolation. And because Hashem is teaching us, okay, you don't appreciate other Jews enough, so I'll separate you. You don't appreciate shuls enough and davening enough and learning enough, okay, I'll separate you. And we wake up to that. Eno Milvado is really the key to all of that, is that recognition. And He's waiting for us to recognize that, to bring us back to where we need to be, and beyond that, of course, not just go back to business as usual, but the new order, a new recognition of Mavado. So I think really Hilchos Mezuzah is really one of the most appropriate things to be learning now during this time, which the whole Yesod is the Yesod that Kadosh Baruch was waiting for, as many Gedolim have said. Okay, going on here, moving on to Sif Yud Aleph. Again, we're not going to talk about everything here, but just some few main points. So we have Sukkos Achag B'Chag, B'Baisha B'Sfina. Sukkos Achag B'Chag, we saw the Brisa in Yuma, the Rabbanan said that it's Diras Aroy, and Diras Aroy is not Chayav and Mezuzah. The whole Etzim Dira is Aroy, because it's only for a week of the year. Lafuke, that if you had a sukkah which is like a shlak roof, like like in Israel, they would in the old days they have a handle that rolls the roof back off. It's a regular room of the house. So that room, even though it's sukkah chag b'chag, and you put schach up there, it still remains chayav. The other Chachamim say because it's still a regular room, just you took off the roof. Even though a roof is we'll see later on, is in ma'akev and chiyuv mezuzah, but here it's only temporary. It's a real diras keva there, and just the you have to make it slightly into somewhat of a diras aroy through changing it to schach, but it really remains a real room and it remains chayav. So the sukkah chag b'chag, this putter is when you put up a sukkah just for chag. But baisha b'sfina, so the rooms in a ship. Also, so the poskim were saying that that's a hemshech of sukkah, which also bedin diras aroy, which we pointed out from the Stipler and other poskim that the other Achronim speak that if you have rooms for the captain or for the sailors that they're in there often kavua more than 30 days, certainly if they're there throughout most of the year, then those rooms are takachayev. So it's not the fact that the sfina is moving is not the reason that it's pater. It's because the rooms are just like hotel rooms for most people that are just taking a cruise for a week or 10 days, whatever it is. So it's a diras aroy. But if you have diras keva for those that work there, both in kavua, then the rooms in the sfina are takachayev. And then we have chanuyos shvakim. Yes.
Sorry. Would kavua always be 30 days according to what we spoke about a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
Okay, days. And it needs to be like 30 days straight. Yeah, not 30 days. If you're a big cruiser and whatever, 30 days, like it would have to be 30 days in a row.
Yeah, that's like a kaviyos of 30 days in a row. That's mashma has to be ritzufim. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's mashma. Otherwise, if you go into a hotel room and you for 10 days and you leave and come back another 10 days, a couple months later, and over the year you have 30 days, you're still not chayav. It's still a roy. If you're there in a place for 30 days, that makes it kavua. Okay. So now what's a fascinating nafkamina in this v'chanuya shebeshvukim paturim. So we said the stores in the shuk are patur, and here we have an interesting machlokas that the Taz says that the reason that it's patur is because it's not really a dir kavua, because even though you sell your wares in the day, it's not yuchad lalayla. And to be a diras kava, to be chayav, it has to be liyom v'layla. That's a chiddush of the Taz. And when Taz says Laila, so the Das Kedoshim says that it's not enough that you're there a few minutes of the Laila. Let's say on the winter, the short days that you still stay a little bit at night. So 5 o'clock it's already dark and you stay till the store closes at 6. That's not called being there with Laila. Das Kedoshim says the Taz means it has to be Rov HaLaila, which for the most part the stores are not going to be that way. So that certainly in those days they were not that way. So that's what the Taz says that it's pater. So it's really totally in. Now the chiluk, according to the Taz, the question would be what would be the chiluk between that and say Beis Tevin, Beis Eitzim. So Acharnim would say that Beis Tevin, Beis Eitzim, those things stay there at night. The Eitzim and the Tevin stays there at night. So So they say that, well, according to the Taz, then why shouldn't it be chayav midin beis eitzim, beis tevin? If you still have your wares there, even though you might not be there, but you keep your wares there, so then why is that any different than beis tevin? So there are chilukim the basic tevin and basic eitzim are things that you need for the Diras Adam, possibly. But it's the kasha to me is a little bit better than the terutzim. It's hard to really know what the terutzim are in the Taz. And for that reason, the Yadak Tana in the Pischei Tshuva is cholak in the Taz. He asked this kasha, "My shnami basic tevin basic eitzim." That, and if you're going to tell me that you take your wares out every night, who does that? Every night you're going to empty all your wares out and bring it someplace else. If you have an office, you leave your stuff in your office at night as well. So why should we lo gara and basic eitzim basic tevin? So the Yadak Tana in Pischei Tshuva holds the Nechanami. Really, those things would be chayav, even if you don't stay there at night or Rav Alayla. Still, it would be chayav because it's lo gara. It's no worse than your basic eitzim basic tevin. So what's the case of the Shulchan Aruch then that it's a pater? So he says it's only kagon hayiridim, like you have these, like you set up a temporary shop in the marketplace when you have like I don't know, here in Dallas sometimes they have a show. And like they have a lighting show or whatever. They have like they call it the Dallas World Trade Center, and they have period like a few weeks is the lighting show, and then they have a few weeks of this show, that show. So people set up shop for that amount of time, and you bring your wares for that amount of time. Since the whole thing is a roy, so it's mamish like sukkah sachab chag. It's like you have less than shloshim yom there. You're setting up there, and it's a direct parallel. According to the Taz, it's a little difficult to understand it's brought all in one halacha and Shulchan Aruch, Sukkos Chag B'Chag, Baishav Esfina, which are all just Diras Aroy, and then the Chanuyos is like a whole different din, according to the Taz. According to the Yadak Tana, it's Geshmak. It's all one din. It's all the same type of Diras Aroy, just for different reasons. So Rov Achronim actually learn like the Pischei Tshuva, like the Yadak Tana, which will come out then that our stores, people in stores, or huadin, which is a big enough mina often for us as offices, do you have to put up a mezuzah in your office, and does it need a bracha or not? So most offices, unless you're in an intense law firm, or you're trying to become a partner in law firm, then there often people are staying rov halayla in their office to try. They basically don't go home, or they sleep through everything. So, but otherwise, people that live a little more normally, so then they're not rov halayla in their office. Which even so, according to, we say rov achronim, like the Yadak Tana, still you'd have to put up a mezuzah with a bracha, because if you're there every day, and like the Yadak Tana says, it should be lo gara from Beis Medrash. Beis Medrash, it says the people are there all day, and that's enough. They didn't say you have to be there all night. Beis Medrash is chayav according to the Yesh Omrim, because you're there all day. So it should be no different. It should be chayav even with a bracha. However, even though Rav Achronim hold that way, l'maisa, the more recent forums say that we're be machmer like the Taz, in the bracha. So of course, if we have a Taz, and there are in Das Kedoshim are like the Taz, that you do need rov halayla. Otherwise, he holds your pater. So we certainly will be put up in mezuzah because of Rav Achronim, but it's better to be choshesh for the Taz, in bracha, not to make a bracha on it. And this I heard also from Shmuel First, Chicago, that the minhag is not to make a bracha on the office. Yes, put it up, but you don't make a bracha on that. Okay. Let's take a look at Sifyud Gimel.
Rabbi,
Yes.
does it make a difference if it's your office or you work at a firm that you have a room in that building?
Yes. So if they allow you to put it up, then you should put it up. If they don't allow you, so then it's a different story. Then it's not up to you.
But we're not choshesh like Tosfos that you need Bilas and Dira. Just Dira here would be enough.
Yes, and the fact that you work in that office, so that if that's your private office, it's a type of a Bilas. It's like you weren't actually soaking that makom, but they gave that to you to use. So that's a
it's kind of part of your compensation or something,
right?
Like part of
You have a room, so it's like it's a type of a Bilas. it's I think it's Logara from Schiris, really. I mean, you could be Mechalik, really. You could say, that Schiris is Kanya. There's Musagim of Kinyane Schiris, and you didn't actually do Kinyanim over there because they're just having you move into their work. But I think that's the generally accepted understanding of the poskim, that if you had that office for yourself, then you do put it up, again, without a bracha. Okay, in Sifu Gimel, we're not going to go into that right now. That's on the gap, but in Sifu Gimel, just to review quickly what we discussed there, that we say Bais She'en Dalad Amos Dalad Amos Pater. That was the Gemara in Sukkah, that the minimum size of that Bais is Dalad Amos. In the Shulchan Aruch brings the Chiddush of the Rambam, which is the Rosh disagrees, but the Shulchan Aruch just quotes the Rambam with the Paloch Cholek. Im Yeshbo Kedei L'Rabbeya Dalad Amos Dalad Amos B'Shava Al Pi Sha'orcha Yeser Arechbo Oshu Agol Obal Hei Zavios Chayav. So he quotes the Psak of the Rambam. The Rosh holds that it has to be Mamish Dalad Al Dalad, but the Rambam holds Kedei L'Rabbeya if in total you can make a rectangular room that's not Dalad Al Dalad within it, but the sum total is 16 square amos. So then the Shulchan Aruch passes this pasuk that is chayav b'li cholek, and just the post can point out that how rectangular can it be? So we saw the Das Kedoshim said that it has to be a minimum of at least 1 amma. So if it's 1 amma wide by 16 amas long, then it's called Kedei L'Rabbeya 16 amas. That's the minimum according to the Rambam. Less than that is not anything. And so we said that we're generally machmir 6 feet by 6 feet, like in a closet. If it's 6 by 6, to put it up at least then without a bracha. If it's more than that, it's like 8 feet by 8 feet. Then you have mamish lekoladeus. Then we put it up even with a bracha. 6 by 6, I would say to put it up at least without a bracha. And we spoke out at the time 2 chiddushim over here. The chiddush of the Chamudei Daniel. They held that if it's even less than dalad, if it has a separate particular shimush to it, like a closet, that's the way it's used, is less than dalad, and then he holds your chayav even without dalad. That was the Chamudei Daniel, and we had the opposite chiddush of Rabbi Kieger, held that it was still pater, but there should be a chiyuv on the other side of the door going out. Rabbi Kieger and the Binyan Tzion and other Achronim said that following that chiddush as well. So it comes out to really be a stira. Let's say if that's its shimush in the closet, then it's a stira that, according to the Chamudei Daniel, you would put it on the way into the closet, because that's zeu tashmisho, so it's chayiv even less than dalad. According to Rabbi Kieger, you have to put it on the other side, on the way into the room. So some later poskim say, well, maybe you should put it on both sides. The Biyotze Bolshitas, that's what the Binyan Tzion was offering. But the Maisa, we brought down that Ramosha Feinstein and other poskim said that the minig in Europe and the minig in America is that we are not choshesh for Kveger or for the Chamudei Daniel. So if it doesn't have dalad, we don't put it in mezuzah at all, not on the way in and not on the way out. And but just the minimum shir will be if there's Kedei L'Rabbeya, it's either square or rectangular, as with a sum total of 6 by 6, which would be 36 square feet. We put it up without a bracha, and if it's 8 by 8, which would be 32 square feet, so then we put up even with a bracha. Less than that, we don't put it up, not on either side. Question?
Yeah. In a closet, do we base it based on the size of the room or the walk-in area? Meaning, let's say there's a big drawer and like you can't walk in. An actual place to walk is less than dalad.
Well, if it's movable, if it's built in, then I would say it minimizes it. If it's not built in, if you just move it around, then that just becomes part of the living room. You have big things, small things in there, but the room still remains. Okay. In Sifya Dalid, so we discussed here, just to review, we talked a little bit on Sifya Dalid, we talked actually a lot there at the time. Bais she'en lo tikra pater. This is a psak. We have the Rashi and the Sugya and the Rambam that one of the 10 things you need to be chayv mezuzah, the Rambam says, is having a roof. So by she'enu tikra is pater because it's not considered a base dira. And we saw the kasha and the terrace from the Rush. Tosas the kasha that ma'ishnami chatzer. Tosas and the chatzer is chayv without a roof. So the Rush said because that's the way you're mishtamish with the chatzer. The tashmishi chatzer are dafka without a roof. That's why you have a chatzer. You can do your barbecue. You want or things you do and outside in the backyard. You don't want a roof over for that reason. So that's normal living. Mashenk in a house, the normal way to live in a house is with a roof. Without it, it's not a house. So it's pater. That's the Shita Sarama and Rashi. It's Psach Shulchan Aruch. Hay mitzasa makura, mitzasa in makura. Okay, if it's partially had a roof, partially not. Okay, so then we see that it has to be over the door, and if kadei rabeya rectangularly or squarely above the door, you have dalad, you still chayav in that door. Fine, not too common in our houses. Just one thing we discussed was the question in the Piskei Tshuva and other Achronim about if you take the roof off, like for Sukkos, and you put it back on again, is it become tasev l'mina asui? We had a halacha by mezuzah. It was mezuzah's tasev. You have to make a mezuzah, and it can't be self-made. And so the shayla of the Achronim was that if you take off the roof, and now it becomes a tour, and the mezuzah is already on there. Now, when you put the roof back on, it becomes chayav again. Perhaps that's tasev l'mina asui. But the Achronim all took on that's not the case. Since it didn't change the actual siyas and mezuzah itself, it's just a side patur or chiyuv, then it's not a problem. Tassel also you don't have to remove the mezuzah and put it back on again. So those who have those type of sukkahs that they roll the roof off or back on again, then that's okay. Just like we saw by the schach itself, also by the schach itself, if you build a sukkah with schach and then it starts raining and you roll a plastic over it, or you shut the roof over it that the rain shouldn't go through. So right now the schach is schach puzzle. It has schach puzzle over it, and the whole thing is puzzle. When you take it back off again, it's also not tasa lemon asui in the schach, because the schach was put down properly la halacha, and it had a chalosh shem schach on it. And now that you take off the roof, it goes back to what it was. You didn't. It wasn't a psul in the guf haschach. There should be chaslam and asui. And the huadin and the mezuzah, it's not a psul in the guf mezuzah. When you took the roof off, like the opposite nafkamina. Sukkah is a problem when you take it, put it on. Mezuzah is a problem when you take it off. Fine, but by neither of them is it a problem of tasalim and asui. That's all myself we take on. That was a big discussion we had back in the day. And Siftes Vav, another Tanai, the Rambam holds. He says, "Bais apish ein lo talasa is chayav mezuzah." Again, bais. We saw the poskim already say that when they say bais, they can mean room. That's just the way they say room. So, let's say room of the house that doesn't have a door. So Shulchan Aruch said the stam psak of the Shulchan Aruch is that it's chayav without a door. As long as it's a doorway with an actual door, it's still chayav. Yeshomrin, yesh misha poiter. Some say it's pater, which is the Shitas Rambam, that if you don't have an actual door there, it's just a door, an opening, a Pesach, then it is pater. The Rambam also holds it to be a real base dira that needs tznius and everything. Then it's not considered a makom tzenua unless for a base dira unless it has a door. We had a discussion with Sanso Pasha. Maybe the Rambam might agree. We're not so sure. It's not spoken out in the Shulchan Aruch and the Poskim Lahedya, but it's a question that the Rambam might agree that a doorway inside of the house that already has the tznius of the outside doors, so that maybe that would be chayav. We had rayos to say that maybe all this Tanaim and the Rambam are not 100% always the case, depending on the situation. So that's a discussion. But the Maisa, we see from the Shach in Chafei that when he discusses the question of tasalim and asli by this as well, let's say you put up a mezuzah without a door and then you add the door, that becomes a problem with tasalim and asli in the Rambam. If you put it up to begin with the door and then you have to take the door down to have it fixed and then put it back up again, that's just like putting the roof over it or taking the roof off. That it didn't affect the actual hefts of the mezuzah, then it's not tassel l'mina asui. That's not a problem. But if the shach has been kosher over here that if you are going to put the mezuzah up before the doorway, like the case of the Reish Kalusa, so then that's a problem with tassel l'mina asui. And so you can look at the shach go back and forth about Lagabi bracha. You see these choshes for a bracha for this. So you see that the shach has choshes halacha l'maisa for the Shittas Rambam Lagabi bracha. So therefore, even though we have a svara to say maybe the Rambam is masking by the inside doors, but if you put up a mezuzah, let's say for some reason you already have all the mezuzahs up in your house, and the one to your living room that has a door without an actual door, with an opening closing door, just an opening, or to the kitchen, whatever you have like that sometimes, then you need to put a mezuzah up there. You put that up without a bracha because it doesn't have an actual doorway. So we need an actual door. Because choshesh for the Rambam, like a bracha, not to make a bracha. Of course, we have to put it up. Shulchan Aruch paskins it's chayav, but with the bracha, we have to have an actual open and closing door. An actual.
How would Rebbe Poskin buy a either a sliding door or maybe like a cloth, let's say, like where you cover it up by tznius, but you don't have an actual door. So would you make a bracha there or not?
I think a sliding door I would make it. That's also a door.
That's a door, okay. Because even though there's no heker tzir, like nothing.
Yeah, heker tzir is only if you're from a supuk, which way to go, whatever.
Right. Okay.
Not a tanai and being a door though. That was the derech in those days.
Like a sheet.
Yeah, sheet. It's hard for me to believe that's a door. That I don't have a raya necessarily, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are places there were like in the Arab countries where they lived with in tents and things like that. Maybe all they had were those things. They don't have real hardwood doors. Good question. I don't want to say for sure. My hargasha is that it's not a door, but if that is I would say if that's the norm in that country, that's what they have. They have those. If somebody you're in a normal country and you have normal doors and you hang up a sheet someplace, so it's hard to believe that would become a door. You put a makeshift sheet up there, but if that's a norm in that country, then I think there's good welcome to say maybe that is a door. I'm saying a svara. Okay, good question. Okay. I need to ask a man of the cloth. I don't know. Okay. Going to Sifyud test. So here in Sifyud test, we talked about just to review Aruba Shabain Bais Aliyah, Olam La Basulam, Osim Savi Basulam, Hekef and Chitzas. A little difficult of it to understand exactly how they did it in those days, but what the post can relate that to would be, let's say, today's Chadar Madregot in Eretz Yisrael, where you walk in the doorway and then you have the stairway that takes you up, level by level up to different floors, and you get out, you go into the different diras. That would be like an Aruba Shabain Bais Laliyah in today's world, and the post can further take it to the discussion of elevators. An elevator, like in a building in Eretz Yisrael, you have an elevator. Often today, does the elevator need a mezuzah or not? So we discussed this. We went back and forth at the time, just to review quickly, that some poskim said that you would put some say it was patro legamre because it's not really, an aruba is a stationary thing, and the elevator is a moving thing. Others said that doesn't matter. That's the derech today. So the fact that it's moving is not a reason why it shouldn't be. And that's just it's just a different way to get, instead of stairs, to get up through that doorway to get to the next doorway is through the elevator. But the elevator, so we had two shilos. It's the doorway of the elevator and then the door to the elevator itself, to the actual elevator box, elevator room. So in most cases, in most diras and private diras, so those elevators are not going to be daled al daled. They're not going to be 6 feet by 6 feet. They're maybe you will, like in hotels or the bigger places, but not in a regular building, like in a Eretz Yisrael, like a building. You're not going to find a 6 by 6 foot elevator shaft. So we saw that the Minchas Yitzchak, Dayan Weiss, wanted to say that it should be chayiv anyway because of the Chumudi Daniel, because zeu shimushay. It doesn't need to be 6 by 6 or 8 by 8, whatever. It doesn't need dalad to do what it needs to do, which is to take you from one floor to the next. So yeah, it's hard to be mechayiv inside that, unless it's like an oil zaruk, which that was a whole discussion getting into Erevin. It's a very complicated discussion. But according to what we said before, that we Pasnak or Moshe, that we're not choshesh for the Chumudi Daniel, then that would not be a reason to be mechayiv the actual room of the elevator. That falls off. But what we did find, and as soon as that was a Psak of Yoshev, and perhaps I think Rishon Zalman and others, is that you would put it on the doorway which leads into the elevator, even though when the elevator is not there, there's nothing. And some say that the elevator goes up, so it's not really a doorway; it's only a buttle to the elevator. But they say that you certainly should put it up without a bracha, because it's a shash. We'll put it up on the doorway, on the way into the elevator, on the door frame to the elevator room, and then that's on the first floor when you first get in from the lowest floor when you mainly walk in. And the other floors, you should put it on the door frame on the way into on the way out of the elevator into the Chader Madrigot, because that's the way you go into the next part of the building. That seemed to be really the accepted psak. That's what we saw back then. And
Maybe.
Yeah.
What if the elevator would take you to the roof? So would you say it would be on the right going out onto the roof or going back in? Because it's the only way to get back down.
Well, it depends. If it's a roof that people use for things like people hang their laundry up, like in Eretz, like they hang their laundry and they have tables and chairs up there and they hang out on the roof. So and it also has a makkah, because otherwise you wouldn't be allowed to be there. So it has 10 tefachim high wall around it. So it has a makkah around it. So then that would be like a chutzar. So that would be the knisa l'chutzar. The main reason for that door is the knisa l'chutzar. Very few people enter the building via helicopter, landing on the roof and then enter the building that way. People enter the building from the bottom. And they use that door to go mainly to go up into that chutzar. So if it's a useful place, I would say yeah. If it's just just a doorway, it's like a non-used chutzar at all, I would think yeah, that would need to be on the way in. Question is, what's it there for at all? What do you have a doorway? But I would say on the way in then, because it's not really a chutzar. It's not being used for anything. Okay, we'll skip down to Sif Chaf Beis. Socher Bais b'chutz laaretz v'adar b'pundiki b'Eretz Yisrael patim mezuzah shloshim yom v'socher Bais b'Eretz Yisrael chayiv mezuzah miyad b'shum yushav Eretz Yisrael. We said shoel is like a socher. Okay, so very important halacha. And at the time we spoke about the shach in Chav Ches said that it's patim mezuzah shloshim yom she'enu nikra adayin dira, because until 30 days it's not considered your makom dira, which was the svara of Tosfos in the first lashon of Tosfos in Menachos, and we spoke out at the time. The Nachlas Tzvi brings down here, and Kiveger and his Tshuva and Samavav has a big pella on the Shach. The Shach is saying his svara in Tosfos, which works with the Tosfos, or Shitas Rashi also mashma this way, that a socher after 30 days is chayav midiraisa. So then the chiluk between before and 30 days is that if it's called your dira yet or not. Before 30 days, it's not a dira, it's pater. After 30 days, it becomes your dira, it becomes chayiv deraisa. So the shach is speaking out of the svara of that tosah. But the maisa, Kveiger says we paskin like the second day of Tosis that no matter how long you're there, it's only midrabanan, and it's not a question of mixik dira or not. It's of called dira. It's a question of when is it mixik dira? When does it look like your dira? After 30 days, it looks like it's your dira. So he has a time on the shach that he's using the wrong svora. And Kveiger goes on to say, because the Tosis in the rush, and he holds Rav Chanan Paskin, Rishon hold that a schirus is pater midaraisa. But other Achanim point out that see the shach quotes this for, you see that he does hold that it is chayiv deraisa, and he Dafka quoted this for of the first lashon of Tosis and Rashi. So according to that, it will come out that it's a really a major machlokas a poskim whether a schirus is chayav midrabanan or midaraisa. The halacha we mentioned the shita of Rav Moshe and other poskim as well, that if you were going to be staying there for a year, which today it's almost if you're going to be in a place for a year or over 30 days, today everything is in writing and everything is then so Moshe holds that you should really be chayav to put it up right away. But because it's a suffix, it's a machlokes of poskim. Therefore, we shouldn't make the bracha yet until after 30 days. And after 30 days, then you're memashmesh, but you just make a simon that you're being involved in the mitzvah mezuzah. Preferably, even if you can loosen at least one of them a little bit, make a bracha and then retighten it, and have in mind all the other mezuzahs in the house to go around. He doesn't say clearly you have to go around and be mashmish all the mezuzahs. I think you have kavanah for them all. But that's what I usually paskin do. When sometimes it's not so easy, people don't have mezuzahs yet. But if it's possible to have mezuzahs right away, and you're staying in a place for a long period of time, like a year, then ideally you should put it up right away, and then make the bracha after 30 days. And that after 30 days.
What would you advise people like? Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just like, when Ramosha compares it to tefillin's easy to be mashmish. Like you would tell someone to actually take it off, loosen the screw a little. Like how would you be mashmish?
He says you don't have to do that. Just it's more to show that have das on it.
Like you just like try and jiggle it a little,
or just rub it. Mashmish means to rub it. But he says if it's not too difficult to loosen it a little bit, that's sometimes you can take a knife behind it, loosen it and hammer it back in. You do at least one of them that way, then he holds your yotze the holidays. But he's not. It's not ma'akev. The emotion. Now, in this Shiloh Derabana Deraisa, there's one last nafkamina in Sifchaf Gimel that Shulchan says that if you're socher abayis from any Yehudi, you're chayav mezuzah. There's a long discussion in the Pischei Tshuva that if the Nachri also has some rishus to use the house still, you rent it from him, you're using it, but he still, he goes and puts stuff in the garage, whatever he leaves, he still has use of the house. So is that considered shutvus Nachri? And he's going with the assumption the shutvus of the Nachri is pater, like the Ramah. We already had a kasha on that before. We already spoke out that going to the Gra and in the Aruch HaShulchan, even Shutvus Nachri is chayav, like the Rashba, but he's going with the Ramah over here, assuming that it's pater, and he wants to say that Rav Kveiger, he quotes Rav Kveiger to say that together with using with the Nachri, it looks like a Shutvus Nachri, but maybe if the Jew has the key, if the Nachri gave the key to the Jew and the Jew has to let him in. When he uses it, so then it's more nicker that it belongs to the Jew, so then it doesn't look like Shutvus Nachri anymore. So he goes back and forth about that. He ends off saying that since the whole chiyuv is only D'Rabbanan to begin with, because we're talking about schirus over here from a goy, the whole chiyuv schirus is only D'Rabbanan. So we're not mechuyev to be so worried about putting up a mezuzah in a place where it looks like schirus of a Nachri. So he holds it should be mekel. It could be mekel. He brings another case also to be mekel for the same reason. According to what we're saying, though, we have a sfek sekel hachmi over here, because the shach is holding a pashtus that the chiyuv schirus is deraisa. We choshes for Rashi and tells us that it's deraisa. Number one. Number two, even shutvus nachri, the poskim neman, we take on like the Rashba, like the Gra and the Aruch HaShulchan said before, but in the beginning of the Simon, they were Machmar Shufas Nachri. So certainly a case where you, the main renter, and you just have a goy is still using it, but he's not really a shutuf anymore, but he's just using it for certain things, then on the Adarabba, then would come out according to our poskim that it would be chayav to we have to be chayav to put up mezuzah, not like the Piskei Shuv for Kaveger. Okay, I think we'll end it with that, and we'll try to have another shir mitzvah Hashem, hopefully at the beginning of next week. Sorry, it's been pushed off. We're a little bit overwhelmed over here and waiting for test results. Hopefully they'll be good. So it's been a little bit hectic over here, but Mr. Hashem will get back together next week. Everybody,
Thank you.
stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Shkoyach.
Call to.